Says, I think all that sounds really good, but sometimes we spend so much time filling out reports and doing things like that that it seems to me, not being the person who does that it becomes its own objective, that it spends more time and money than it really does good. I think that Mrs. Kane is doing a good job and will continue to do that, and if the citizens stay on top of it and we stay on top of it, we can correct anything that needs to be corrected.
And okay, we do have some audience questions, and so none of them are addressed to a particular candidate, so I'm just going to rotate through like I did the others.
Whatever you need to do.
Yes, right. Gives us all. The so-called hometown democracy initiative will be on the fall ballot for voter consideration. This would be a constitutional amendment. If this passes, what is your opinion of local voters deciding the fate of comprehensive plan changes? And we will start with Mr. Welford.
I'll stumble through it. The Charter Review Advisory Committee for the county is going through a process right now, just like the city is, and I unfortunately have a conflicting meeting, so I've had to follow that more by a website, and there is a lot of talk about home rule and the comprehensive plan. I am all for citizens committees or groups of committees to have an input into what the comprehensive plan should be. I would certainly not advocate that for the city of Alachua. So I would say that hopefully if that does, the home rule does pass, I'm pretty sure it will. I don't think most of us, at least we call it Big Brother. In fact, there's a nice vote going on today at the House of Representatives. I know all of us are very interested in. We certainly have to make our own decisions in the communities. And I would think, as us being able to contribute to what the comprehensive plan should be, would certainly be something I would like as citizens to have input to do that.
Mr. Helly.
I actually need to know more about it. I'm at the base of it, I believe in liberty, and you don't have liberty without private property rights. We have a comprehensive plan. We have citizens committees. In fact, I was on it to develop that plan. It's deliberative. It's done over a period of time with everybody talking about it and wondering about it and deciding about it. I'm not sure whether or not something should be put out. We did end up with our state constitution with a state constitution with a hog pen size in it. So we need to be careful about those kind of things. I'm not saying it doesn't be done. I need to know more about it.
Ms. Perkins.
I likewise need to know more about it, but the bottom line is I feel like the citizens need to be able to govern themselves, and I feel like the key is education. We need to, on all aspects, educate our community about issues so that they can make good choices and logical decisions. I spent my entire career not writing reports, but breaking them down so that it can be understood by anyone. And I think that we should approach life that way. Anything that's worth talking about, voting about, needs to be understood, and the leaders of the community have to put it out there for our constituents so that they can understand what it is that they're making decisions about.
And I'm going to take 30 seconds and say this is a perfect example of what the League of Women Voters does. The so-called hometown democracy amendment will be on the fall ballot, and the League of Women Voters, in co-sponsorship with the Gainesville Chamber of Commerce, we'll be having an open forum with pros and cons on this the first Monday in May at the Hippodrome Theater. So please, I'll expect all of you to be at that.
What time is that?
I think it's going to be at 7. need me to read that again?
Yes, please.
The Alachua City Commission recently voted to increase electric rates. Tomorrow night, the commission will vote on a water and wastewater rate increase. All of these increases will increase revenue to subsidize the general fund rather than support only the service intended. What do you think of this form of taxation, parentheses, revenue creation, rather than making cuts in spending? 2 minutes.
Well, I live here in the city, so I know what it's like to pay the current water and electric bills, and I'm not looking forward to any increases. However, it's kind of tough to, when you're talking about being cut here and there also. We have to balance it out. We need to do some cuts, I'm sure, and there are places, and if I'm in there in the commission and privy to a lot of the information that the commissioners are privy to, I would be able to make some logical suggestions for cuts, but cutting is hard also, and I realize that. And being a citizen is hard also, paying the increase, but we have to pay our bills. And if the increase is the only way that we can pay our bills, then that's what we have to do.
Okay. Mr. Wilford.
First off, the study I talked about was not saying that I want to create a lot of extra paperwork. I got comments twice that I'm not trying to create, my organization just went through a 9-month process that we had various committees evaluate our program, and that program, we received 7 regional and state awards in the last 2 years and recognized as the best practices organization. Guess what? When we analyzed what we were doing, we found ways where we could be more efficient and more effective. So taking a look at yourself. So I'm not trying to create a lot of extra paperwork. There isn't all that extra paperwork involved with it. As far as the issue goes about the idea of the increase, it is interesting because I think there was a I attended, I don't think I know, there was a wastewater workshop conducted a couple of weeks ago, and a gentleman presented, and I think he said that our city has not had an increase in a number of years in the wastewater rates. So I'm not saying I'm for a rate increase, but I think the city commissions, and that's many of them, have been very benevolent to the citizens and tried to keep those rates down. Right now, our infrastructure is suffering due to a lack of different areas, and I would say that, I certainly would want to look at the operation of the city first to see if there was ways to become more efficient and effective, look at our staffing patterns, and determine if we are in a situation where we could make up that difference without significant increases. But also, when you run government, we haven't had our millage rate's been less than 6 mills for the last 12 years, which is one of the lowest millage rates around. So I think, as we need to understand that there may have to be some increases, but I'd like to look at cutting costs first and then look at those other things. Thank you.
Mr. Helly.